I am a big fan of the YouTube channel The School of Life. They've produced excellent videos on our cultural obsession with love and the history of Romanticism. The Romantic era began in the 1700s as a reaction to empiricism and scientific inquiry, which prioritized rational thought over emotion. Out of Romanticism came some extraordinary art and the idea that love conquers all. Human history is full of stories about people going to great lengths for romantic love. Despite feminists claiming that men secretly resent women, art tells a different story. Men have written poems, painted portraits, and sung about heartbreak and devotion. Even modern songs like Grenade by Bruno Mars revolve around male sacrifice for love. My name is Zarina Matcha, and you're watching The Rational Female. If you enjoy my content, give the video a like and subscribe to my channel. With the rise of modern dating culture, people seem more confused about love than ever. Dating coaches flood the internet. Divorce rates are at an all-time high. Many people don't seem to know how to build a stable, healthy relationship. I've heard that being in love is like being on drugs. People say things like, my other half, or this person completes me. At the same time, we're also warned that this is unhealthy and that real love should feel steady, not euphoric. For most of my life, I've been obsessed with romantic love. I have become infatuated with men very quickly. The pattern has been predictable. I'd project fantasies onto someone I barely knew and would assume we'd marry and live happily ever after. I thought obsession was love. It isn't. It's limerence. For years, I've heard, be happy single and love yourself first. Therapists, friends, and people in 12-step programs repeat this message, and I honestly can't stand it. There's become this cultural fixation as well on self-love. No one ever says, don't have friends, just be happy alone. Why is romance treated differently from friendship? Married people with no friends can be lonely, and single people with lots of friends can also be lonely. I've had some intense, unhealthy friendships as well. I'd quickly attach and project long-term hopes. Friendships in my life that have lasted are much calmer and are built on mutual respect rather than emotional electricity. Less drama, more stability. Part of me sometimes wonders whether romantic love is overrated. Why is it framed as this life-altering force or the most important love that we should all aspire to? I experienced intense, head-over-heels love at 23 with my first serious partner. It was overwhelming and it faded within a few months, and in hindsight was a fairly unhealthy relationship. It only lasted 9 months in total. Limerence can be intoxicating and dangerous. As I've discussed on this channel, 2 years ago I had a psychotic episode. I was convinced that I was in love with Andrew Tate and that we would get married. Now that was a genuine cannabis-induced delusion, but the emotional pattern wasn't new. At the time, I thought it was real love and genuinely believed that Tate and I were soulmates. Since then, coming out of that episode, I've been very afraid of romantic relationships. I have dated, but it hasn't gone well, and I feel very traumatized. I have a lot to work on in myself before I could even consider getting seriously involved with someone else. I'm not a jealous or controlling person, and I don't mind if my partner has female friends. I'm generally quite calm and logical, but I do get infatuated, and that clouds my judgment. I have been told I can be intense at times, and sometimes I want more than what the other person does. Now, paradoxically, I can also detach very easily. I found it incredibly easy to have casual sex and be emotionally detached, which in hindsight I see as unhealthy. So I tend to swing between two extremes, intense infatuation or total emotional withdrawal. Casual dating feels safer because it avoids deep emotional intimacy. But healthy love probably isn't supposed to be obsession followed by detachment. Codependency is rather common, and I think romanticism has played a role. While I love Disney films, the Disney-style fantasy of two people doing everything together isn't realistic. I experienced that level of intensity in my first serious 9-month relationship, and it became suffocating. We just mirrored each other's intensity, and it was exhausting. In the end, I grew resentful of him and just became really fed up. The next relationship I was in was much calmer and more stable. Less passion, more logic. Unfortunately, my infatuation with Andrew Tate, alongside mutual incompatibilities, ended that relationship too after about 6 or 7 months, I think. Both these men whom I was seriously romantically involved with were good people, but those two relationships both ended for different reasons. One was almost too intense and too emotive, while the other was too unintense and lacked passion. I'm now at a stage where I no longer dream of love in the same way. I would still like to have a long-term partner one day, but I would need lots of time. I need to be sure that we're on the same page. I was raised in a very stable family with two very good parents, and I have positive relationships with both my mum and dad, even though they're now divorced. Seeing what was once a happy marriage break down does make you cautious, and divorce affects children much more than people like to admit. I'm not really sure I want to have children for many reasons, including the many difficulties I've endured in my life with mental illness and trauma. My current focus is building a writing career and growing this channel. If you have children, I think they should come first, and I'm not certain I want to divide my priorities. That's just honesty. I'm really not that fussed about having children. I would never tell women that they must have children or avoid careers. Plenty of accomplished non-feminist women had influential careers without having children, like Grace Hopper, Ayn Rand, and Rosalind Franklin. I am anti-feminist, but that doesn't mean I think all women have to be housewives and stay-at-home mothers, nor do I look down on women for choosing that lifestyle. Most anti-feminists are not anti-career, we just have a more realistic outlook on life choices and gender roles. The majority of women are more family-focused than career-focused, and women who have historically gone against that were usually outliers, and they usually had to prioritize their careers over having a family. It's just practicality. I don't believe in the feminist idea of having it all. It's very unrealistic for most women. Women who balance both family and career, like Beyoncé, have significant financial support or structural help. At some point, women have to prioritize either having children or dedicating time to a massive career. Part of growing up is learning that you can't have everything. I have always wanted a partner and a career, but I've never really been that fussed about having children. Just to make an important point, I think a woman can have a job and a family, but it depends on what she's doing, it depends on the kind of job, and a job which is very, very demanding and takes up a lot of time, I don't think it's realistic for a woman to be able to pursue that and have kids. It's incredibly difficult. One of my favorite books is actually called I Don't Know How She Does It by Alison Pearson. It's actually about a woman who works in finance and she has a big career, but she finds it very, very difficult to balance both having a family with having a career, and eventually reality kicks in. So I think this is very telling. I think that, modern women, we can't have both a family and a big career. And when I say big career, I mean a career which takes up a lot of time, not maybe a part-time job or, a career where you mainly work at home. I mean like a big job, like say being a lawyer or being an actress, something which is very, very time consuming. So no, I don't think it's realistic for women to be told that we can just do everything and have everything. I think that's very, very unrealistic. Some women want to prioritize family. Some women want to prioritize career. Some women can have a job and a family, but they usually have a lot of help. Maybe their husband makes a lot of money, so they don't have to work as many hours. There's got to be some level of compromise. Romanticism has sold an unrealistic vision of love. That affects people psychologically. It's rather ironic that I write romance books, but fiction is fiction. Real love is usually quieter. It's not about grand gestures, it's more about shared responsibility. I don't know if I'm ever going to experience lasting romantic love, honestly. But I do want to build lasting success as an author and hopefully YouTuber. If you're interested in my books, check out my work at this link or in the description below.